Hello, marketing freaks. My name is Aiden Rigg, and I am here today to talk to you about sales prospecting versus lead generation. Now, a lot of times it kind of goes hand in hand. People kind of say lead generation, prospecting. So, what is lead generation? What is prospecting? So I ask you to think really right off the top of your head, is there a difference? And if so, what is that difference? Now we're going to dive into that in just a second here. But it's important to kind of think, where do you put it? Is it all the same thing? And if it is, okay. If it's not, and you think of it differently, then how do you perform differently? Meaning, do you have separate lead generation activities and separate prospecting activities? Does your company have different lead generation activities versus prospecting activities? And so this is a great way to kind of analyze where we're at, what we're doing, and then separating the two, and then focusing on each individual activity within those two particular strategies. So the question is there a difference? And the answer is yes, there is. Now there are some overlapping, and that's why it gets changed, it gets intertwined, it gets segmented together. So when we start talking about lead generation versus prospecting, what are we looking at? What are the differences? So let's spend a moment and talk about lead generation. So what is lead generation? So we can get into that on many different levels. We're just going to do a 40,000 foot view kind of more or less today, but it's generally widely accepted. Doesn't mean it's the rule, doesn't mean that it has to be true, but it's generally accepted by many that lead generation is kind of a one-to-many strategy. Okay, so it's meaning you and your organization, or you as a marketer, as a salesperson, as a smarketer, whatever you want to call yourself, you are reaching out, or you're casting a very, very, very wide net. So if you're a fisherman, you have a net. You don't have a fishing rod at this moment. You have a net, and you're putting the net into the pool of prospects, and you're pulling out, hopefully, a big net of fish. And then as those fish drop into the bucket, okay, you start going into prospecting. So lead generation is generally widely kind of thought of and as one-to-many. So what would one-to-many be? Well, researching and getting all of the veterinarian contacts in your geographical area would be a form of lead generation. Setting up an email campaign that reaches out to those people, which asks them, are you the person in charge of, is a lead generation activity. Because you might be using technology, and that email might be one-to-one, so to speak, but you're not doing the typing the email specifically to Bob. You're sending an email to Bob, Tom, Dick, or Harry, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, right? Whatever, you're sending all these different, the same email out to these many. So you're doing one-to-many, right? It's going out. Now, that's lead generation. So you might be asking questions. You might say, can you tell me who's in charge of, what have you, okay? So that's a form of lead generation. Now, in between the lead generation and the prospecting is something we haven't talked about, we're not going to talk much about today, but is lead nurturing. Meaning, you got this big list of names, you reach out to them and say, hey, can you tell me, are you in charge of? And you are then nurturing them with educational content on a daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly basis, whatever your process is, and you're sending them educational content or whatever, whatever your process is, but generally you're nurturing them. You are communicating with them on a regular basis, and you're educating them, you're nurturing them, so that hopefully they will start becoming more aware of you of your company. And once they are more aware of you, then you can reach out to them on prospecting, on a warm call or a one-to-one. So one to many, you nurture, you lead score them, boom, there's 5 of them that are really opening everything. They're clicking, they're watching, and you have that documentation. You know that they're interested. They are now going from a cold lead to a warm or a hot lead. When they go from cold to warm or hot, boom, prospecting gets involved. Now, you don't have to have that lead generation to be prospecting. You can simply pick up the phone and dial for dollars and be prospecting and not have that lead generation. But that's kind of the scenario. So lead generation is the one to many. Okay, so want to make sure we kind of cover that. Now, the next one is, what is sales prospecting, and how is that different than lead generation? And sales prospecting could be going to networking events. It could be an email. It could be a text message. It could be a phone call. And you could have not done any lead generation and just get a list or open up the Yellow Pages and start dialing for dollars, or walking in the door, knocking on the door, saying, can you tell me who I would speak to? And that is more generally accepted and thought of as sales prospecting. Now, there's a need for both. But lead generation and the activities to take a cold lead, okay, and bring them into being warm or hot, definitely makes the ability to convert a prospect more easily. If they know who you are, if they're familiar with your organization, if you've helped them, educated them, taught them, helped them avoid obstacles and pain points over the last few weeks, months, or years, and there's a level of trust, and you're in their consciousness, they are aware of you, and you reach out to them, then it's obviously easier to do that. So, you think of lead generation as the one to many. It could be advertising, it could be ads, it could be anything. Someone becomes aware of you. They're now aware of you. They're now recognize, who you are, who your organization is. They know you by name. If someone said your name, they go, oh yeah, I know who that guy is. Oh, I know who that company is, right? So the lead generation leads to awareness. That is the easiest way. And then you reach out through prospecting. You pick up the phone and you leave a message, what have you, but they're aware of you. So when you leave that voice message, when you send that email, when you send a text message or what have you, they know who you are. They know that you are in the cleaning business or the lead generation business or whatever, and you're in their level, you're in their consciousness. So I kind of like to think of it as lead generation leading to sales prospecting. Think of it this way. At what point in your life did Amazon become a staple in your consciousness? Right? The first time you would have heard the name Amazon, you might have thought it was the rainforest. And then you found out, it's a company. And then, they sell books. And, I can get a whole bunch of stuff from them apparently. And then you go online and you're like, okay. And you set up your credit card. And then you go there and you order something. You get the right. Now you become aware of them. Now they're in your consciousness. Now it becomes something you deal with. And you use Amazon on a regular basis. And now next time you order what have you, or you think I need to get this, you go to Amazon. Okay, so there's a process from unaware to aware, right? That's what we want to be doing when we're prospecting. We want the company or us to take us from unaware to aware, from invisible to visible, and then create some type of value, relationship, and trust, so that when we do reach out to them, we have some type of dialogue and some type of level of interest. So those are the primary differentiators between lead generation and sales prospecting. We're going to spend a lot of time in the next few weeks, months going over this and talking about it further, because it's something I recognize that we want companies to start thinking about, I want companies to start thinking, I want salespeople to start thinking about, do you have your lead generation and your prospecting activities? And do you have two separate processes, strategies? And if you don't, you might want to start thinking of them separately and have two different strategies to create awareness, to create leads, to get lead generation, and then to have sales prospecting, or if you will, closing the business. I'm Aiden Rigg. We come to you on Thursdays. Marketing Free comes to you on Thursdays, every Thursday. I hope you found this of value. Leave a comment, let me know, and I will see you in the next episode.